All right, what's going on, guys? Okay, so today I'm just going to do a deeper dive into the AI software. This is going to give you, a better understanding of pretty much how to use all this stuff right here. Now, just right off the bat, you got your get recommendations. That's what you're going to, use most of the time to get your stock picks and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that because for the people that have it, they've already used it and stuff like that. So, yeah. Now, one thing I will say you know, before we go any further, um, so I created a Discord for the people who got the AI software, and that's where we're going to show you. So we have two things going on. So one of them is the Discord, one of them is a school community. The community is for everybody. It's 100% free. The Discord is for the people that got the software. We're going to deeper dive into the markets, fundamentals, trades, more live streams, more alerts and stuff like that. So the whole goal of this is to use this software um, in conjunction with what we're doing in the Discord. And then also if you're new to this, if you get recommendations, let's just say you're playing with 5 grand, you know. Um, if you're just throwing 5 grand at something, that's not the proper way to do it. So you need to be watching the videos that I'm putting as far as for charting and stuff like that. So that way, you can get you can know how to chart, know how to get your setups, know how to find, your entries and your exits, and then you use your get recommendation, or I'm going to show you this one here in a minute, your trending stocks. This one's really cool, and you get your entries, you get your exits based off of this software, or should I say, based off the charts, but you're using the software. Okay, so it's kind of like they kind of like coincide together. So that's how you want to use them. Like I said, I can't stress that enough. You want to use them together, and that's why, again, that's why in the community there's so much free courses. I probably have about 4 or 5 videos out. I'm going to be putting a plenty more. I'm just getting started right now, so yeah, there's that. Okay, so let's go to the first one. This, you don't really have to worry about anything until you get to economic calendar. So economic calendar is just super cool. This shows all of the data that you need for upcoming events. Now, there's nothing right now, but what's upcoming, I mean, you got PMI. All of this economic data is going to have an effect on the market, and that's why I say, in the Discord, you're going to learn to how to use all of this stuff in conjunction with, your trading style. And then, as you learn all this information and as you use this software, then you're going to have a better understanding of the markets and the software and how to trade and all that stuff. So all this stuff is right here. This is super good information right here. If you're a newbie, you might not understand this, and we will go over this in the Discord in the live sessions. But if you're an expert trader, you know that a lot of this stuff, there's CPI data, inflation data, there's FOMC minutes and stuff like that. There's non-farm payroll, JOLTS data, jobs data, and all that has an effect on the market. And what's cool about it is that you have it all right here. So like what I used to do, should I say, what I used to do is I used to go on Twitter and find, okay, hopefully somebody will put out the CPI data. Hopefully somebody will put out the JOLTS data. But now you just come over here, and whenever it's time, November 29th. This one's not really that important, but you just click on it, boom, it takes you to where you need to go. So this one is super. Like I said, I use this all the time now because it's just right at my fingertips, and I love it. Okay, so this next one, we got a calendar. We haven't gotten this in there yet. We will get one in there eventually. Apparently, it was pretty expensive to put that in there, but this is just going to show like all the companies reporting earnings this week. And this is going to be super cool because it'll just be right there every week. But like I said, it's not in there yet, but we're trying to get it in there for right now. The next one is politician holdings. So this one is super cool, especially if you've ever heard somebody say like, oh yeah, anytime Nancy Pelosi owns a stock, it shoots up. It shoots up 100, 200%. So this is super cool because you can type, the politician, you can search the ticker symbol, this one shows Nvidia, you can search Tesla, and it just kind of gives you, a synopsis of what these politicians are holding. And that's what's super cool because, like, for me, I mean, I know it makes me feel good when I'm in a stock and I know that, somebody like, Nancy Pelosi is holding Nvidia. I'm like, okay, she can't lose, so it makes me feel better. So it's kind of cool to know, what politicians are holding what stocks. I mean, you got Tommy Tuberville, he's holding Tesla shares, a ton of Tesla shares. Dan Crenshaw, he owns a bunch of Exxon Mobil shares. So it's just kind of cool to know, what politicians, and like I said, you can search different politicians up here, and search different symbols that you want to look up. So that's what's cool about that. Let's go to the next one, which is stock news. Okay, so this one is super cool. Again, in the Discord, we're gonna, go over what all this stuff means. What's a 10K report? What's an 8K report? And all that kind of stuff. But what's cool about this is that it takes you, instead of trying to find this on the internet, and that's why my buddy and I built this software, because there's so much stuff in here, you know that you can just click on it, boom, it's there for you. You can just click on this. I won't click on this now because it'll take me to a different website, but it'll just take you to those, to where this 10K and this 8K report is. And what's cool about that is, like I said, when you're trying to figure out the fundamentals of a company, um, if it's a fundamentally good or not good of a company, this is the stuff that you want to look at. You want to look at their 10K reports. You want to look at their financial reports. You want to look at, their margins. Are they growing? And this is where you're going to find all that. And then again, you can search different ticker symbols. So again, when you get more into learning about how the markets work and stuff like that, and more into your trading, this will come in really handy for you. So there's that. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, so the next one is trending stocks. This one's super cool. I've actually used this a few times already. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of use this just as much as I use the get recommendations. And the reason why, the cool thing with this is that it shows you, which bearish, neutral, bullish. A lot of these are cryptos right now, but they update throughout the day. So I mean, this one's a stock right here, MDB. So yeah, what's cool is I saw, what was it? I saw, was it Google? I saw Google on here like a week ago, and it was at 317, I believe, 316, 317, 318, something like that. And then literally I didn't grab it. I didn't get shares. And it was on here, it was on this list, and then all of a sudden, literally next day, it went to 325. And I'm like, dang it, that was like a $7 move I could have gotten it. So this one's super cool. Again, you want to use your analysis that I'm teaching you in the classroom to get your entries and exits. And then if you see a stock here and it says it's bullish, yeah, go in, get some shares. Or if it says, something like this, it's bearish, then you can, short it. Okay. So that's how you're going to use this. And this is a super, super cool, and helpful tool to do that. Okay. So next we have trend analysis. So this one is super cool because it shows you, where short term bullish, intermediate term bearish, long term neutral. So it kind of gives you, an indicator like, okay, midterm we're kind of bearish, so you might want to get your setup in a short position or something like that. Now I still need to change this around. But what's cool about this too is that it shows you your support level and your resistance level. So you got a support level down here at 653.02, and you got a resistance level at 687. 39. So, like, this is an area where you'd want to go long in the market. This is an area where you'd probably want to, take profits if you're already in, or maybe go short in the market. So this is super cool because it's kind of like an extra layer of protection. Like when you're doing your recommendations, it's kind of like the same thing. So this one is cool. This is a cool little tool. The next one we have, I think it's stock. Oh yeah, no, not that one. Actually, no, this one too. So this one's cool too. I don't really use this one that much, but I will go over it for people that do want to use it. So what you can do here is you can look up, the price range of any stock, and it'll just pull up, a bunch of stock. Excuse me, sorry. It'll pull up a bunch of stocks. So like you can put up a price range, a minimum price range, a maximum price range, and then market cap, a minimum market cap, and a maximum market cap, and then it'll pull up those stocks to fit that criteria. Um, and then the next one is one of my favorites, which is this company financials. Now this one is super cool because check this out. Now we still need to do some updates here. It's showing this is off right here, so we still need to do some updates here. But what's cool about it is that this is what I was talking about too, as far as learning like data and stuff like that. It shows their 10K reports. It shows their earnings calls. So if you want to look at earnings calls from 3 quarters ago, if you want to look up an earnings call from 2024, quarter two or something like that, you can click that and it'll take you there, and then it shows you their price to earnings ratio. Now, what they usually say is what's usually a good price to earnings ratio is 25 ish. So this one's kind of a little bit overvalued, but yeah, I mean, if you look at something like Tesla or something, I'm sure that's going to be probably. I think that Tesla's like, I think like a couple hundred if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 271. So, it kind of shows you, again, like I said, when you're looking at earnings, price to PE ratios, usually it's like 25 is a good one. Now, Tesla's a little bit different of a story, but we're not going to get into that right now. And we're going to teach all this in the Discord too, like what's a PE ratio, what's an EPS, what's a this, what's a that. You know what I mean? So if all these numbers are like, you're like, what's going on with all these numbers? Then don't freak out. We're going to learn all that in the Discord. And then the last one here, which is just super cool. Again, this one just shows you price target. So it's kind of like the same thing with get recommended trades. It shows you a price target, and then it gives you a rating of a buy. Which is there's 16% upside. So if you bought here, and you held it, now again, you know it doesn't really give you a time frame. So I mean, if you bought here, it's just saying that there's a 16% upside. So you might have to hold for a while. You might have to hold for a few months. You might have to. It depends on what you buy. And then again, you can type in so many different tickers. Let's go in with Nvidia right here. It's 177, 220 target, and the rating is a buy with almost 25% upside. So that's how this works, and that's pretty much just a deeper dive into the software. All right, guys, so that's basically it. That's just like a deeper dive into the software. For the people that aren't in this community right here, that's another little button here to we're gonna have free courses, live calls, and trade reviews and all that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend you're in the community, the school community and the Discord. So yeah, that's how you use this. Again, I can't stress this enough. Is that you want to use this software properly. You don't want to get wrecked. I thought about putting like options trades in there, but then I was like, no, especially for the newbies, we'll be going over those in the Discord. So like I said, all this stuff that I just went over, we're going to be going over each and every one of these in detail of how to properly use these, how to properly use the get recommendations and stuff like that. So everybody can be a profitable trader. That's really our goal. We want people to make money. We all want to make money, right? So, the whole goal of this software is to use the software with the information that we're teaching you guys. So because like I said, if you're just a new investor or you're a new trader and you go into this and you get this software and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get wrecked. So you need to be in the communities. You need to be watching the videos, especially if you're new. Like if you're an advanced trader already, then you already kind of know how to navigate. You already know how to use this stuff, and you'll fly with it. But when you're starting out, you're gonna need to walk before you run, and then run before you fly type thing. So make sure that you're watching the charting videos. I put a bunch of them in the school community. I think I already have like 4 or 5, and again, I'm going to be putting a ton learn more. And, just like I said, just to reiterate what I said, is if any of this stuff is confusing for you, or, you need some help, we are going to be doing live sessions where people will be able to ask questions. We'll be able to answer them. Yeah, the goal here is to have, we want to make generational wealth, right? We want to make money for our kids and our kids' kids. So, when you have that kind of a mindset, if you have the mindset of, oh, I want to take, $10 to $500,000 tomorrow, I'm telling you, nobody has that. That's impossible. Now, again, this software is going to grow your portfolios. Like it's definitely grown mine already. I've already made some plays in here, and it's been pretty good. I've made some money off of it. But like I said, no amount of trading is going to take $10 to $500 million, in one day. That's not possible. So the goal here is to make generational wealth, and continue making money. And yeah, so I hope this was informative. Again, this is basically just an introduction on how to use this. And there's plenty more to come. Like I said, like it says pretty much here, there's check out the courses. Everybody needs to be checking out those courses. Like I said, especially if you're new, don't think that you're smarter than the next guy. You need to be checking out those courses. I'm putting out a ton of value. I mean, I'm putting out a ton of value in these courses, and they're free. The live calls, same thing, and then trade reviews, chart analysis, trade alerts, and stuff like that. Okay, so we will see you in the next one. I hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you guys later.